Hello there, everybody. I'm Bill Allen on People to Be Heard, substituting for my colleague John Bailey. And tonight on People to Be Heard, the show where people who have something to say have their say, we've got John Vorperian, the host of Beyond the Game, the White Plains television talk show that is entering its 16th year on the air on White Plains TV. So, dropping the alter ego, welcome to the show, John Vorperian.
Okay, Bull, it's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Yes, and the reason you are here is twofold. Number one, we always like to talk about the baseball season after it starts. And two, we want to talk about some of the great things the Historical Society has planned for this year and is planning ahead. So basically, you've been on the air for 15 years with Beyond the Game. You've interviewed a lot of baseball stars and greats of the past with books and all. I wanted to know if in the course of their interviews, whether or not they have feel the game has changed. In 15 years.
In 15 years, I would say indeed it has changed. You know, Beyond the Game, as you mentioned, we've had athletes, we've had coaches, we've had managers on the program. But more importantly, we've had observers of the game, columnists, writers, fans. And if we look upon those episodes, yeah, the game has been changed, and I'll explain it like this, John. Had two front office personnel, one from baseball and one from another sport. And the issue came up as to where the youth are looking to their sports entertainment. And the baseball, both of them had observed some youngsters pantomiming the game. And one youngster slid into what was the imaginary second base, saying, yeah, safe. And the baseball executive had said, look, you see, baseball is still the national pastime. But the other sport, the other sport business executive pointed out, and it was a key note, that the youngsters were all wearing NBA material.
An unfortunate.
And that is something I have seen in going out and having speaking engagements, or even teaching sports law and sports marketing at some of the local colleges here in my other life as a adjunct professor.
You're also a well-known jurist, a nationally recognized litigator for children's support. Child support.
Yeah,
I got a national award last year, so
yeah,
this is his day job, though.
Yeah, that's right. My day job is a lawyer, but my love and passion is Beyond the Game.
Right.
And talking with folks such as yourself, who's you're an umpire.
Right.
And I have to say that what I've observed with young people and baseball is the sport is not growing
among the youth.
Among the youth here. It's not. Their predilection, their love is for soccer, basketball, lacrosse. And let's not forget the extreme sports. And we see it here in White Plains. Go look at the Government Plaza on weekends. The kids are, and I don't want to give them up, but they're skateboarding. And that
skateboarding is coming back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember the Jan and Dean song. Sidewalk surfing.
Sidewalk surfing, yeah.
I love that record.
Yeah.
But getting back to the baseball situation, there is a big push that says, well, baseball's too slow. People who are watching it want more action. However, what they're doing is they don't realize that the baseball games end too late. They play too many night games. And kids cannot watch the end of World Series games. They can't watch all the playoffs. They can't keep track of it. Do you sort of think I'm on the right track here?
I don't know exactly what the solution is, but I'm already fermenting some ideas where baseball should be going with regards to capturing viewers' attention. And a purist like us, I don't know whether I can bring this up, John, but maybe we have to borrow something from fantasy sports. Maybe we have to accept what the Brits do over in their country with their love of soccer, which is the introduction of gaming. Maybe that is what is going to capture people to sit in front of the television or go out to the ballpark, which is to permit
to have an over and under on runs. I had an over and under last night. 26-23 in 7 innings, 2 hours and 45 minutes. The young ladies playing had such great fun. They were into it all the way, and the parents stayed to the end. It was like old times.
Look, if we're going to have pitch counts, if we're going to have Americans want points. Give me points. Give me 1,000 points up on that scoreboard. And baseball has embraced that with the introduction of the designated hitter, the whole idea of runs, offense. To me, as a baseball...
The pitching is so lousy in the major leagues these days, they're getting that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we are getting it. I would like to see, ideally, a return to a higher amount. I would love to see 1-0 games, but I don't know whether that would entice a generation behind us to watch the game.
Well, if you have a really exciting game instead of a 9-1 blowout going, you can't sell as many concessions because people aren't, which is the name of the game in sports today, is the concessions handle, and of course the TV revenue. And baseball is still the most attended sport across the country.
It's still
because
the most.
It has the most games, of course.
The most games, but it's also still the most affordable for a family of 4 to go to.
And it's not an exclusive sport. You know, like basketball, hockey, football, they are the sport of the wealthy.
Right. Yeah, well,
the viewer of the common man, but the viewer is the common man, but the wealthy are the only ones that can afford to go to those games.
Yeah, well, basketball is a good example. Celebrity Row is $1,000 a seat there.
Yeah, that shows those people are not too smart watching basketball in Madison Square Garden.
Well, I don't know. The New York Knicks are not.
The Knicks are the New York Knicks still in the league?
Yeah, they are.
Yes, unfortunately. Cluttering up the league with lousy basketball for all these Phil Jackson years.
Well, we're going to run a risk here if I say the next thing comes to mind, since we are carrying on optimum, is James Dolan going to sell the Knicks? No. He's going to keep the Knicks because he's making a fortune. The MSG is always sold out.
Yes.
And it is content for
the press is not hard enough on that franchise. They're not hard enough on Phil Jackson. The guy is obviously not a good evaluator of personnel. And so we now know that Jerry West and the general manager in Chicago were the real reasons why all those championships were won. It was not the coaching.
Yeah.
But
to swing back to baseball, should the Wilpons still be owning the New York Mets?
That's a sore point with me. I mean, they got bailed out by baseball secretly when they couldn't meet a payroll, and nobody had any problem with that.
Yeah.
Whereas George Steinbrenner got thrown out of baseball for 3 years just trying to do an investigation of David Winfield. I forget the actual details of that. But Steinbrenner was a villain here. But Wilpon, a crony type, is let some slack. And he gets away clean out of the Madoff thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not conduct becoming a major league owner, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with ownership, because if Derek Jeter does indeed, along with the other syndicate members, purchase the Marlins, maybe that will cause viewers, fans, newspapers, and the media to focus on, well, who owns these franchises?
Well, look at the thing that was pulled on by Jeff Luria, destroying the Montreal franchise. They loved baseball in Montreal. Yeah. Moving it out, they were about ready to win a pennant when the strike happened back in that. But anyway, the owners get away with it because the commissioner works for the owners.
Yeah.
So what bothers me most about baseball this season is this replay. They're covering up the replays. I saw a Yankee game the other day whereby a umpire was out of position and obviously called a runner out when he should have been safe, and so there was a challenge, and we go to commercial. We come back, the runner is on second, but no sportscaster mentions why he's on second. It was reversed. It's a cover-up of it. And I saw another person who said the same thing, that he noticed it too, that nobody mentioned it. In the NFL, the referees are shown peering into the tube and all that, but truly, I don't like this at all. I think the umpires, it takes away the wonderful baseball argument, which really gets fans intrigued. That's gone.
It does, and I'll share with you before Beyond the Game, and this was in the early 1990s. I got to go to a fantasy Mets baseball camp and spend a week with Pat Zachary, Bobby Wine, Felix Mignon, I'm blanking out as Joe Nuxall of all folks.
The great Nuxall.
And some folks from the Milwaukee Braves, and I'm blanking out as Lou Burdett.
Lou Burdett.
Okay. Now,
the master of the spitball.
The end of the week, there is a forgive me, Bull, but a Bull session.
Yes.
And they were up, all the pros were up on a panel. And I had the brilliant idea of asking the question of, do you think there should be instant replay with umpires' calls? And to a person, every single pro on that panel replied in the negative.
Why?
No, I will never forget that. And as you say, watching the game now, it's a revenue raiser for television, as far as I'm concerned. With look, you know what? People can go onto the internet. Take a look for an image. The Cincinnati Reds, Baltimore Orioles World Series, played in the 70s. There's a famous picture. It's portrayed.
The infamous Ken Burkhardt back to the plate call.
Back to the plate call. Come on.
He can't do that.
The umpire is in front of the plate. The players, one is sliding into home. The other are trying to apply the tag. And it's all behind him, and he's making the call.
Yeah.
That is baseball. That would charge up. Can you imagine in the 24/7, 365 media matrix that we have today, what sort of argument, what sort of talk radio we would be having? There
was a tremendous argument, I remember.
Well, exponentially, what it would do today, it would be a ratings screamer. For baseball to do that.
Lots of views on YouTube or whatever. But on that particular play, he didn't ask for help.
Yeah, that's true.
He did not ask for help. He was knocked over. He had every right to go to the other three umpires in the field, and he didn't. Now that was an ego mistake, because there's always, like, I had a call yesterday. We were very close to play at third, and I called the runners safe because I thought the tag was missed, and everybody was arguing and then I went to home plate umpire. Did she tag her? Yeah. And he said no. Yeah. And everybody agreed after the game that I was right on that one. But anyway, I mean, that's what you do. Yeah. You cannot be hammered for asking for help on something totally blind. Yeah, but be that as it may, that you are right. That, I mean, the greatest, and then this crazy Polo Grounds thing with sign stealing. Yeah. And they should really do something about that.
Yeah.
They should stop promoting that as a legend. It was a stolen sign.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with Josh Prager and the Echoing Green, and
That was a fascinating book.
Ralph Branca shared that on Beyond the Game. I mean, Sal Evars, who was the catcher, who was for the New York Giants, who was part of that Leo DeRocher scheme of stealing the signs in the Polo Grounds from the Dodgers and Thompson's home run. But you remind me of another incident. Jackie Robinson stealing home on Yogi Berra.
Who Yogi is shown going to the moon after that horrible call.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that is a point of contention. It's part of baseball lore, but Dale Berra, who was on my program, supported his dad, is saying, no, he was out. And in fact, that was a running joke between Yogi Berra and Rachel Robinson all through.
Every time he'd series, say he was out.
He was out. He was out. But I had on the program Rich Marazzi, who is a consultant to Major League Baseball, excuse me, to certain teams in Major League Baseball. Rich Marazzi is foremost knowledgeable in baseball rules. He actually goes out to certain teams and instructs ball players in the fundamentals of rules and being aware of what the rule is. He has a photograph of Berra on that play, standing over the plate, preparing himself to receive the catch, and yet the batter is still in the box.
Interference by the batter.
Well, no. Well, actually, it's catcher interference.
Yeah.
It's catcher. You could so.
Well, the batter has to clear the box when there's a throw coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you see.
Yeah.
You got to.
Right.
We could have another. We could have the rest of the show talking about
that
whether
is
it's
an
catcher.
argumental point as how far out of the box you have to be or how far clear you have to be.
Well, you know what? This photograph, I can't tell because you see the batter and you see Berra, but where are the feet? I couldn't make it out from this one.
Yes, you wouldn't
exposure.
have that today. You would have it done on replay behind a commercial, and they say, well, Robinson was out. And no one explains anything. But truly, though, do you agree with this absolutely outrageous automatic intentional walk and the also equally planned, perhaps reducing 3 balls for a walk and 2 strikes and you're out? I mean, we may as well make it men's softball, you know? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they have 2 strikes.
Yeah. Does it speed up the game, though? I don't know. I'm trying to get the number as to how many intentional walks there were in the past season, and how much time does that shave off the
Well, it doesn't
clock?
shave. No, they want to shave off. They limit commercials. I've counted it up during a typical game. If you have how long commercials take and breaks, and it's about 45 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
In a 3-hour game.
Yeah.
So most of your time is chewed up is paid for, but they won't touch that. But no. Yeah. But think what's going to happen when you go to 3 and 2. There are guys in the major leagues who can foul off a lot of pitches. And, you know, everybody's saying, boy, what a great at-bat. And it always is. It's skill to fun. And so I don't think that will save that much time either. But I just don't understand this haste to fix something simply because, gee, we're not getting the ratings or something. But
I don't know. I'm beginning to think perhaps baseball should consider allowing you know what? Let's reduce commercial time on television. And yes, that's now diminishing a revenue stream, but let's expand other revenue streams. And what I mean by that is, let's put advertising on the field. In all seriousness, allow logos to go onto the on-deck circle, onto the uniforms, onto the caps, so visually people are seeing that, and that is a way of
take a leaf from NASCAR. Yes, I mean they made a lot of for the patches all over the drivers. Jeez, but one other thing, when the players on that panel said no instant replay, what was their reason? Because it takes the humanity out of the game, or what? That panel where they just didn't want
They
it.
were definitively no. Nobody articulated
Why?
a reason other than it was firm. Just
I see.
no. They just Pat Zachary. I will never forget. He had put his head. If you ever go to a fantasy camp, that last day there is a lot of partying going on, and I have to say that Pat had his head down at the table, but in fact he had an emphatic no, and it was just
in the after game.
Oh, he was. Yes, we were all in the after game. That's where I had the fortitude to actually raise this issue with them, but it was just viewed as you're tinkering with the game. You are affecting the purity of baseball, and it was the true believers just simply saying no.
Right.
You do not use that tool. Do not even create that invention to deal with the game.
Okay, so I think your idea of more advertisements and uniforms would bother me.
What?
But gee, they really have to start teaching pitchers how they're not developing young pitchers well.
Yeah.
Their arms aren't strong enough, and they pitch them too deep into games when they're young pitchers. Like Whitey Ford never did complete games in 1950 when he was first coming up. But
Bill Monbouquet, who up until I believe he stayed in baseball up until 2 years that he passed and so forth. But the point is that Bill Monbouquet, as a pitching coach with the Detroit Tigers organization in the minor leagues, he insisted that his pitchers, anybody under his tutelage, run, have strong legs, no pitch count. I don't know how he pulled that off with the Detroit management, but he did that.
well, Spani said he'd always threw on the third day, and he always went like 9 or 10 innings and finished what he started, and he never had a sore arm.
Yeah.
And Sane was the same way. He would, but be that anyway. We'll have to continue this at another time because I always like talking baseball with you. But let's talk about the Westchester Historical Society annual dinner coming up.
White Plains Historical Society.
White Plains
yeah,
Historical.
yeah,
Well.
yeah. But that's
White Plains Historical Society.
Yeah, White Plains Historical Society. Yes, May 4th at the Women's Club on Ridgeway. The White Plains Historical Society is honoring as its assistant extraordinaire for 2017 the president of the Women's Club Foundation, Christine Rothmeyer. John, as you may know, the Citizen Extraordinaire Award, the Jack Harrington, who for many years headed the Historical Society and described the criteria of a Citizen Extraordinaire, is someone who is here in the White Plains community, who is contributing, who is building bridges, who is helping our city become a better place. The board of the Historical Society selected Christine Rothmeyer, and you as a journalist would appreciate this. I did a search.
We have a picture of her on the slide, we think.
I did a digital search with regards to newspaper articles over just a 2-year period as to civic involvement. You put in those keywords and White Plains, and I noticed that Christine Rothmeyer was coming up. Her name was coming up with various events, and yet the picture that may be in the newspaper was another officer of the organization that she may be affiliated with. I know that she did work with the March of Dimes, with the Women's Club, and beautification and so forth.
apparently an extraordinary fundraiser.
Oh, the fundraiser? Well, I'll tell you, it's the best deal in town. I don't know how or why we still are. Tickets are going at $65 a ticket, and yet I've been to various functions around here in White Plains, and that is a very economical and marketable rate to be
Right, and there's
attending an event.
And there's another event coming up on May the 12th regarding a house that you have, the White Plains Historical Society Landmark Committee or whatever has designated a White Plains landmark.
Okay, well, the Historical Society and our coverlet, that if one goes to whiteplainshistory.org, we do sell a coverlet that highlights historic sites and buildings in our city. But it is actually the White Plains Historic Preservation Commission that designated Percy Granger, the famed composer who lived in this city. His house is now been designated a landmark.
And we have a picture of that in the lower right of that slide.
Well, the Historical Society, we support that, but it was the Historic Preservation Commission, and I have to applaud that commission and Mayor Roach and the City Council in embracing historic preservation here in our municipality.
In other words, we give Mayor Roach a hard time on some of my other endeavors, but I'm glad you brought that up because this was a very good thing that I believe he originated it.
Yeah. Well, the Preservation Commission notes sites and
but the landmarking is intriguing.
That is important.
And he set you a task to find landmarks.
Yeah. Well,
and you did.
The commission does.
Commission.
But we support that. And the society, we're also pleased that the Jacob Purdy House, a 1721 farmhouse, where Washington, in the Battle of White Plains in October of 1776, that was his headquarters. People can trod the same floorboards that our first president.
That's history.
That is
and
history.
So is this week's White Plains People to be Heard. John Vorperian, thanks for sharing a few moments. I hope the baseball fans enjoyed it. And thanks for appearing on the program.
Absolute pleasure, John.
Bull Allen saying, so long, everybody.